right, boys and girls, right now we are going to talk about genres of books and styles of writing which together create writing genres. So I have my title for my notes at the top of the page, underlined always. The date is August 30th, 2020, although when you watch this, it might be September already. All right, so basically, writing genres or styles of writing or styles of book are categorized based off shared topics, common settings, different types of characters, and patterns of events and interactions. And that is a pretty simplified definition. Basically, it means if you're reading a type of book and you can kind of tell what type of book it is based on the way the characters are. Maybe there's a lot of dragons. Maybe there's a storyline that sounds familiar to other stories that you've read that were similar to this book in the past. Maybe the characters are similar. Maybe the way they interact is kind of similar. Maybe the dragon is eating the knight, and then the knight and the princess go off. And anyway, so you get what I'm saying, right? Okay, so basically under that umbrella, before we dive down to the world of writing genres, we need to divide everything in two parts, into fiction and nonfiction. And that will pave our roadmap for wherever we go beyond that. So we know, and I know you know this from before, fiction, and we'll write it just so it's very clear. Fictional writing means not true. Hello, not true. That should not be underlined. Oh my goodness. And we know that nonfiction means true. I know it's kind of confusing because it has the non with the true and then the not true without the non. Don't worry about it. Just memorize it and move past it. So, examples of fictional writing. Let's look at some of our examples down here. We've got science fiction, we've got fantasy, we've got historical fiction. All those are examples of fiction. It means they tell a story. It means they're not necessarily grounded in exactly what's happening in our lived reality. It doesn't mean they're not taking evidence or character inspiration or ideas or historical moments and turning those pieces into a story. That absolutely can happen, and that's still fiction. But it means that it's telling a story. It's not true. Okay? Sometimes it's tricky, but it's really important to understand the difference between the two. So not fiction means true. So an example of something that's true would be like your math textbook. And I included textbooks on here because even though they're not terribly exciting all the time, they are a style of writing and there's a time and place for that. Another example of a non-fictional writing might be a biography. So a biography would be facts or the story, but it's not a fake story, the real story of someone's life, for example. The difference between this being fiction versus nonfiction is that the person who's writing wouldn't take the facts from someone's life and spin them into a story. They would just tell the facts of that person's life. Make sense? Okay. So these are just some examples, and we'll go through them. So science fiction would be an example of fiction, right? Okay. Fantasy, where we're telling stories, maybe things are a little more fantastic and outlandish, also fiction. Autobiography would be an example of nonfiction. An autobiography means someone is telling the facts from their life, the events and the facts in their life, and it might sound like a story. Some people's lives do. It's still nonfiction. They're telling the events and the true facts from their life. Historical fiction, well, it's got the name right in there, historical fiction. This one can be tricky because they might be pulling from real historical events, but within those events, they're weaving a story, and that character or the way those characters interact is made up by the author. I personally really like historical fictions. Textbooks, nonfiction, biographies, once again, those are an example of nonfiction. A letter, I could kind of see this going either way. Are you writing a letter as a story to someone? Are you writing a letter? Typically, we write letters to convey events that are going on in our own life to someone, but maybe you're writing it for a different purpose. Remember, all always goes back to purpose and audience. And a novel, in this case, would be fictional, not true. Okay, let me know if you have any questions. What I would like you to do to practice is decide on a few writing genres that you'd like to focus on. They can be from this list, or if you have other genres that you're interested in, go for it. And I want you to look up examples of writing within that genre. You can write this down in a Google Doc. You can write it down in your notebook and take a picture of it. But show me that you can categorize writing into a writing genre and kind of make that movement back and forth. Okay, sounds good? All right, let me know if you have any questions. Bye.